Welcome to a deep dive with D.Rob Fitness, where we train smarter, optimize your performance, and help you create the fitness blueprint. I'm your host, Devin, and today we're going to be talking about something that you've seen all over social media and Fit Talk: foam rollers. But what are they actually doing? Well, it's a good thing that I have today's guest, Kelsea Wright, and she's going to explain the science and practical application of myofascial release. And after today's episode, you'll hopefully know the basis of what it even is, bust some myths, and know the basics of some practical applications on how you can utilize this in your fitness blueprint. And hopefully we'll have this all done in under 20 minutes. We'll see.
Good luck.
So welcome, Kelsey.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming. You are the first guest, so we're really excited to have you. Yes, the first guest.
Gosh. Now I'm nervous.
As you should be. But before we get into the questions and everything, what makes you an expert? Oh, I call this section Talk That Shit. Like, this is the chance for you because you're so modest and you do all this crazy cool stuff, but you're always like, oh, it's nothing. This is your time to just put it all on the table.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm a constant learner. So you say expert, but you're always learning, you're always adapting. The science is always coming out with new stuff. So the things that we knew about what I'm going to talk about 50 years ago is so very different than what it is now. So like you say expert, but I think constant learner is the better term for that. But what makes me, or where I have the knowledge that I have now, is from becoming a yoga medicine therapeutic specialist. So I went down that road a couple years ago, started gaining hours, gaining certifications, and eventually once you reach the 1,000-hour mark, you get to call yourself a 1,000-hour yoga medicine therapeutic specialist. And what that allows me to do is work mainly one-on-one with clients to help people in chronic pain, that maybe they've seen the doctor, they've seen the physical therapist, nothing's really working, they're kind of at their wit's end, and but they still have this consistent pain that they need dealt with. So they come to me, I deal with it in a slightly different way. We work a little bit more on the level of myofascial release, but also saying, the body has muscles that are overworking, muscles that are underworking. We need to find both of those so they start working together. And that's going to be not only muscular work through strengthening and stretching, but it's also going to be through nervous system work, which is a component that a lot of people don't talk about in rehab. They just talk about, get stronger and it'll be better, or stretch more and it'll be fine, as opposed to this idea that, your whole body is controlled by your nervous system. So unless that is a component that you address with that healing process or that rehab process, you're kind of doing yourself a disservice and you're leaving out a really big chunk of what could actually help you in the long run.
And see, that's exactly why you're an expert. Because when you first said yoga medicine, I was like, wait, what? I don't even, you're like putting medicine on people? Are we doing yoga or something? Or that's where you put the sage and stuff like that? But
I've had people call it witchcraft before because that's how magical it is.
So we'll go ahead and just kind of dive into the topic. So let's just pretend, we're both experts in different things, but we're both experts, so we know a lot. But kind of breaking it down to somebody who maybe hasn't been to the gym before, not just getting in on their fitness journey, or even somebody who's on their fitness journey but doesn't put much of an emphasis on recovery. What is even fascia? Because you're like saying myofascial release, and some people are like, what even is that?
And I think it's kind of a term that a lot of people have heard but aren't truly familiar with. It's kind of that jargon that's thrown around and be like, oh yeah, everybody needs a foam roller, it's so great, myofascial release, but then there's no details on it. There's no well, what actually am I doing, as opposed to just kind of flopping around on this device hoping that I'm doing the correct thing. So kind of, I'll try to keep this short, simple, and sweet. But fascia is a connective tissue. It runs throughout the body. It's this web or matrix that literally runs through all the spaces in the body. So if you think about the space that you have in the body, not only covering muscles like between, let's say, your bicep and your tricep, but it's going to wrap around every muscle bundle and every muscle fiber, and it's going to go bones, tendons, ligaments, organs. So if you think about the vast amount of space and just stuff that you have in the body, and this is wrapped and coated around everything, it's a lot. It's a lot. I've heard it called the packing peanuts of the body. You have if you think about a container that has your bones, your muscles, your organs, and then, your veins, that kind of stuff, and then all the other stuff, you can kind of just essentially say that's fascia, because it is connective tissue that runs throughout. But what's brilliant about that is it's if you can imagine how much influence we have over the body, if we can influence this one system, which literally touches and runs through every part of us, it's this huge opportunity to help yourself without taking medicine or having surgery or those kind of things, because you can do myofascial release and influence this system that completely covers you head to toe. Can I go further, or do you have to stop me?
You can go a little bit further, just a little bit. Well,
so I would say there's three main components of fascia, like why it's so amazing is that it connects, it protects, and it communicates. So in terms of connection, I kind of already explained that connection part of like it literally runs through everything. It's the idea that like you have puppet strings, and when you pull a puppet string, something happens. But this connection can be valuable because we can influence parts of the body even if we aren't directly putting myofascial release pressure through it. So for instance, it's called the global effect. I have students, I'll have them, all right, everybody go down and do a hamstring stretch, like try to touch the floor. And you'll hear people like, oh, hamstrings, and their fingers are like to their knees or their shins. And I'm like, okay, we're gonna do myofascial release on the feet, all right? Nowhere near the hamstrings, we're gonna do the feet. But after they've done that release, they do the second stretch, and most of them gain 3 to 4 inches on their hamstring because we've been able to influence that system, which rides up towards the hamstrings, and it completely influences the hamstrings in a beneficial way. So this has applications where, like, if you have something you can't touch, like swelling in a spot or maybe an open wound, something like that, you can still do myofascial release around the other muscles, and it'll positively benefit that area. So we have this idea of connection and global effect. Then there's protection. There's protection, which the main job of fascia is to transmit force. So if you go on a jog, every time your feet pound the concrete, your fascia is taking that force and distributing it correctly, we hope, correctly through that force. So like shock absorbers on a car. So if you didn't have the system, you'd go for a jog and you'd just be pulverizing your feet. Like your bones would just shatter. So we have the system, which is a brilliant system that takes this force and puts it safely throughout the body so that we can endure things like jumping up and down or doing all the things that we want to do in sports or working out. And then with communication, we have nerve innervations that go through fascia. So when our system is healthy and wonderful, we have this amazing connection from the brain into the muscles. We can fire the muscles correctly. We can work with them. We know how, we have that proprioception of where we are in space. But if the fascia is not hydrated correctly or has a dysfunction in it, then those nerve endings are going to be affected. So you have this communication static between the brain and the muscle. For instance, you might be, you've injured your calf, and so your rehab is calf lifts. Okay, it's pretty typical for most calf injuries. So you're doing calf lifts, but you just can't feel that contraction. You just can't feel that what you used to be able to feel when you did them at the gym. So this myofascial release is going to come rehydrate the fascia. It's going to help that free flow of nerve endings. It's going to clear up that static between the brain and the muscle, and all of a sudden the brain's like, oh, there's my calf, got it. And then when you do your calf lifts, you feel it in a much more powerful way. So it has these like 3 really main jobs that, they're not simple at all, and they're phenomenal and amazing, and I could talk for hours about it. But it's just so helpful to have this system that, again, we can influence. It just has so many benefits. I gotta stop now, or I'll keep going.
Well, no, you did an amazing job of giving us the basic background on it in a somewhat simplified way. So you kind of went through some of the questions. That
Are you out of questions now? You're done?
Yes,
that's a wrap. Out of here.
Done. We are done. Thanks for joining. No, just kidding. But so now that we know kind of the general consensus of what it is that it does and everything after that thorough but great explanation, we'll go into the next session where we're going to be talking about just some kind of some myths. And this will be the perfect opportunity for you to kind of set us straight because, as a fitness expert, I'm hearing all these different things, and I'm sure people can relate of seeing so many, and it's kind of like what you were saying when you were talking that shit about yourself, and you were
we got to rename that section. We got to rename that section.
But when you were talking about something that, was the standard 10 years ago is now completely we're doing something different.
Yeah.
So this will be the perfect opportunity for you to set some people straight,
okay.
which you are very good at.
Do it.
Yes.
Let's do it.
Say less. So a lot of people say that they're breaking up knots when they're doing myofascial release. Is that actually what is happening?
So when people first started getting really excited about myofascial release, and this is when I first started doing my training, so this was just probably, less than 10 years ago, there was this idea that, yes, indeed, you were taking the pressure and you had what you consider a knot is a collagen buildup. So your fascia is made out of collagen, and you've got these little slugs that are going around all these collagen fibers and building it up. And so if you were to do, and they respond to stress, and stress isn't like the bad word stress. This is like the good stress to the body. So if I'm doing a bicep curl, my bicep is feeling stress and saying,
check out that bicep. Yeah.
so you're doing these bicep curls and you're like, and the body's like, oh my gosh, this is really heavy. We need to actually lay down more collagen so that we are stronger, and that next time we can adapt to that weight and maybe even heavier. So each time, that whole idea of progressive overload. So you're doing these bicep curls, and so more collagen gets laid down. And that's kind of the good way that's laid down. But you can also have stress in a way where, you're taking your dog on a walk, dog sees a squirrel, goes out, and all of a sudden your shoulder kind of gets jerked, and the body goes into panic mode and says, oh no, quick, lay down a whole bunch of collagen, and it's not necessarily laid down in the best way, like in a nice, like, smooth matrix. So that's where sometimes you kind of feel that knot, or some people feel like it's like crackly, or there's pebbles under the skin, or it feels like guitar strings, like all that kind of like weird sensation, like sandpaper. That can be from that collagen not being laid down in a really smooth matrix. So when you have something like this, people believed that, okay, you're going to go in and you're just going to go to town and you're going to break it up. And after you break it up, it's going to clean it all up and wash it all out. And then it's going to be relayed nicely again. And what they've kind of debunked on that is that you're not doing that per se, or that's not necessarily the best way to go about it. You shouldn't be going in there and like, let's bruise the hell out of some people, The idea is a little bit more therapeutic, because when the body feels pressure, it does first kind of panic. It's like, is this good pressure or bad pressure? Is this a deep tissue massage, or is this someone like shoving me over? So you have to make sure that you, again, with that nervous system component that I was talking about, you have to address that to say, like, you know what, this is good pressure, so it's like slow, consistent, not violent. You're not sitting there going, you're like, oh, okay. And what that pressure is going to do is it's actually going to push hydration through the matrix of fascia, and through that collagen matrix. So rather than the idea of like breaking violently up the knots, it's more the idea of pushing hydration through the collagen fibers to help them get more realigned, and to activate that idea of, okay, let's bring the collagen back and relay it, but let's do a better job this time. Let's not panic and, panic stations and go into like triage mode where they're just trying to quickly throw some stuff down. So you're not necessarily breaking up knots in the sense of you're like, crushing rocks or anything. That's not the point. You don't want to do this to the point of pain and bruising and swelling. You want to do this to the point of productivity. You want the idea of the body to, sometimes I tell my clients, it's like putting lotion on the inside, like you're getting everything all nice and lotioned up so that things slide and glide better. There's that free flow of nerves that we talked about. You're therapeutically taking care of the fascia so that it goes back to its optimal state, as opposed to staying in that dysfunction, which is where you feel the knots.
Okay.
Was that good enough?
That was good. And you like even hit a point of where you're talking about, because I attend one of your yoga classes pretty regularly, have for years, and whenever we are doing myofascial release, you're always telling us to kind of breathe into it and to make sure that we relax and that we stay calm and that we don't tense up.
Yeah, you don't want to brace against it. It's just
everything.
yeah,
And
exactly.
So it's good.
You
to hear
are
that
listening during yoga classes.
When I'm not sleeping, I'm listening.
He did fall asleep. He fell asleep during one class. Oh my gosh, there was snoring and everything. It's just how relaxing and soothing
exactly
the end of classes.
Yes, and your voice. Especially when you were sick and had that deep voice. That was a really fun time.
My Rachel Ray voice.
Yes. So kind of speaking along with that, there's another myth that like foam rolling or anything kind of adjacent to that, so whatever tool you're using, can also be used to helping with breaking scar tissue.
So it's going to be kind of that same exact what I just said. Scar tissue just tends to be a thicker application of collagen. So usually scar tissue, if you're thinking about like, let's say you had surgery and they actually cut through, layers of skin, fascia, tissue, muscle, possibly, that is obviously much more of like, oh, good Lord, quick, everybody, like the brain and nervous system goes, we got to patch this up, emergency stations, everybody go. So there's like a deeper application of collagen, and usually there's different kinds of collagen. There's a contractile collagen. If you think about like butterfly stitches or like glue that you use on a wound, like how it kind of like immediately just sucks everything together. It kind of has that quality where it's not just the normal collagen that gets laid down if you're doing bicep curls and you feel a little bit sore the next day, or even kind of a sudden, you sleep crooked and your neck's a little bit cranky the next day. This is a different kind. So usually get a thicker application, a more contractile application. So this can kind of, bind up in a different way, which usually results in feeling it more. Myofascial release can still absolutely help with that. Again, you're not breaking anything up, but you are pushing hydration through those layers. But since they're much more densely packed, it's going to take a lot longer. Like with collagen that's from something maybe a little more simple, you're going to have, this kind of matrix that gets pushed through, it's good to go. But you're talking about like this kind of thing with scar tissue, and it's going to take, this really crunchy kind of tissue. It's going to take longer and more applications to get it. You can definitely still influence it, but yeah, again, you're not breaking things up.
Okay, so don't just do it harder is what you're saying.
Right. It's not like more pain, more gain kind of idea here. It's definitely, everything should always be therapeutic because you have that nervous system response that I can't harp on that enough, that people like leave out the idea that their nervous system is actually such a huge component to healing and rehab and even performance. And it's just kind of this idea that like they just push it off to the corner and be like, wait, if I can really feel the burn, then it'll be okay. Or if I can get some bruises, then it'll be good for sure.
Okay, I'm gonna have to take some time to process that. That's I have to change my whole mindset now.
You just keep coming to yoga. We'll get that started.
Okay, so the last one with this section is people will often say that their muscles are tight. Is it tightness actually from like the muscles, or is it because they're not doing the proper recovery, or like what?
Are you talking like after a workout, like DOMS? Yes. Mm-hmm. So like that delayed onset muscle sore? Mm-hmm. Okay. So with that, that can very much be like let's say you just did deadlifts. So your hamstrings are very much, fatigued and worked. So your body's going to go in and they're going to lay down that collagen. So you're going to have that idea of kind of a tightening and that, muscle soreness because you've got, there's also your lactic acid and things like that most athletes are familiar with. But as that collagen is being laid down, there is a tendency to feel like it is tighter because it's kind of like, it's putting that extra layer on, which is why foam rolling or myofascial release in general is phenomenal for DOMs. Like the day after leg day, you will absolutely see me on a tennis ball rolling my quads, my hamstrings, and everything, because instead of having 3 days of sore legs, you have, the next morning you're sore, you foam roll, and you're literally done, and it's gone out of the way because you've rehydrated the fascia. You kind of basically, I don't want to say stretch it out because fascia is just like way too strong for that. It's like the tensile, I think they said the tensile strength of steel, kind of like your IT bands are. Like there's just this idea that you're not going to stretch the fascia, but you can rehydrate it so that all of a sudden it doesn't have that tight feeling to it that it would after, doing a bunch of deadlifts on your hamstrings. You're going to foam roll it. You're going to feel like $1 million. You're going to be like, oh, new hamstrings, fantastic. And then you can go about your day and not have to like worry about getting up and off down the toilet. It's like, oh no.
And that's like one of the things that I have from working with my clients, that I make sure, especially when I have clients who are just starting back with lifting and they want to try and lift as much as they were before, or they go right into it. And I'm like, you have to trust me, just foam roll because it's going to help you so much with
Settle
recovery.
Settle down is what you tell them.
You definitely just I feel like it's overlooked, but I feel like it's kind of starting to come back on trend and everything. But like you said, you were ahead of the curve because you're the trendsetter. You're not following the fitness trends.
Well, and I think with the addressing like DOMs and things, I think that is just such a tiny piece of the pie. Like that is a benefit that, all athletes and people that work out can use consistently. But I think the real beauty of it is addressing that, that chronic pain or that muscle that you tweak the shoulder or something like that. There's so much that you can do that's just deeper, I guess, than that. That's kind of, we're going to say skin level, no pun intended. But that's just that kind of skin level idea of like, yes, that is 100% an application that everybody can use. And it doesn't take like a ton of education or experience. Like you can kind of figure that light foam rolling out. But yeah, for me, the beauty of it is helping people in chronic pain that have, they've seen every other specialist and they still have a shoulder that, 2 years in still sucks. And then they come and try this and like, oh, magic.
All right, so moving along, we're going to go into practical application. And so we've already kind of discussed that basically myofascial release is for anybody. If you're like would you say even if you're not working out, you could be
Oh,
doing it? Like,
100%. Yeah. I mean, a lot of the clients that I see aren't are not athletes. They're not people that work out. They've had an injury and or even because so what I guess I haven't said yet is that your fascia is constantly remodeling. And I address the idea of like, you do bicep curls and it's laid down collagen, but your collagen is being laid down regardless of their stress or not. Just us sitting here right now, it's just constantly remodeling. Okay, it's just constantly patching up things and making things better. But the problem with that is it will adapt to your position. So if you sit 8 hours a day, your fascia is adapting to that specific posture. Or if you have slumped shoulders, so it is adapting to what you choose to do with it. So if you've got someone that maybe they don't work out at all, but they're 8 hours like this on a computer, pretty soon there's a chance they're going to have a lot of fascial dysfunctions and problems with shoulders, neck, low back, things like that. Even though they didn't have a specific injury that caused it, it's just all of a sudden they woke up one morning and they're like, oh my gosh, why does my back hurt so much? And it's the idea of this chronic pain, these collagen fibers that are just adapted over time, but that have caused kind of not a permanent, but caused more of a structural difference than something like an athlete lifting too heavy or maybe stepping wrong and their ankle being twisted. So definitely absolutely anybody can use it, regardless if they're an athlete or not. Like, it is applications for every human. Mm-hmm. We'll go with that. Every human can use myofascial release.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question. You're probably going to hate it, but that's
good.
okay. But I'm going to love it because I hate when I get asked questions.
Can we trade?
This.
So if you ask me a bad question, I can ask you a bad question?
I mean, if you want to, but
All right, I'm going to start thinking.
So if somebody only had 5 minutes a day to commit to myofascial release, what would you have them do, or what would you tell them to do?
Okay, that seems kind of like a tricky question because it depends on obviously where your areas are.
See, because that's why I said I would hate that question because I would answer that same.
Don't you worry,
way,
I got you. This is what I tell people. Let's say, because honestly, if you were to foam roll something like your bicep or your glute and you don't feel any crazy sensations, that's perfect. That is the ideal. That's what we want. If you foam roll your hamstring and you're not feeling a ton of sensation, brilliant. That means no dysfunction. You're good to go. Love it. So ideally, that's what we want. But most people don't have that that I work with. They have something that specific that they need to be working on. But I would say if you feel good and there's not a specific area that you're really worried about, and you've got 5 minutes a day, I would say that a spinal roll would be just the best because, I mean, at the end of the day, your nervous system is housed in your spine, and it is the structure that keeps you up all day. And there's so many moving parts. Your spine isn't just this solid post. There's all these little moving parts, and if the fascia isn't really well taken care of on that structure, like we talked about the nerve innervation, you're going to have areas of the spine that might have static, that have stickiness, that don't, they're not responding like they should. And then all of a sudden, once that one link is kind of compromised, it greatly influences the rest of that structure. I tell my students, I'm like, if you think about a bike chain, if you were to weld two of those little, bike links together, it might kind of sort of work for a little bit, but you can imagine that after time, pretty soon the links are just going to start coming apart and it's going to influence the whole chain. And that's kind of what happens with the spine. So a spinal roll with a foam roller, just very gentle, head to toe, slowly working on those spots, that's going to be one of the most beneficial things that you can do, just as kind of a maintenance for the body.
And I'll have to say, as somebody who is really into analogies, that was a really good one. As somebody who prides themselves on
I'm
being
a visual learner, so if I can visually.
So that was really good. It took me there. I understood it completely. So great job.
Oh, good. I'm glad I aced your difficult question.
So you hear a lot of different sayings about when you should do myofascial release as far as people who are actually into fitness or working out. Is it something that they should do before, after, during, while they're working out? Is it the workout itself?
I get this question a lot. And I tell my clients, I'm like, you need to think throughout your day, what is most affected by, with my with my clients, most of them are in pain with something. So what part of your day is most influenced by this? So let's say I've got a student that they just can't sleep because their shoulder just hurts so much. Okay. So for me, I would say you need to do this right before bed so that you get the best possible sleep, because because clearly it's influencing that. But then I have also people that say, you know what, I get up in the morning and my back is so cranky, and then I sit in my chair at work and then it just makes it worse. So that at that point, I'd say you need to be doing this before work so that you start out kind of refreshed and reset, and you don't end up just having, make it worse and worse and worse. And then there's people that, okay, it only hurts when I'm doing like really heavy front-loaded squats. It's like, okay, well then you need to probably do yours right before your workout so that you can influence that workout. So the idea is you want to make sure that you're foam rolling or doing myofascial release in order to influence the specific part of you or area of you or time of day for you that is going to be most beneficial. At the end of the day, once a day is what you're aiming for. And if you can only fit that in your lunch break, cool. Once is better than nothing. But if you can fit it to specifically what you need it, then it's obviously more beneficial to do it before to influence the time that you're trying to feel better.
Okay. All right. Solid. Okay, so we're going to move on, and we're going to do a quick question or two about tools. And no, we're not talking about myself. And
I was like,
I
almost
beat you to it. So we know that foam rollers get all the hype, but what are some other tools that you would like that you think are like top tier?
So foam rollers can be great because of the idea that it's so broad. You don't have to be super specific about it. So like if you're rolling your back, it's a very broad surface, okay? But the smaller the tool, like you're talking about a tennis ball or something like that, it's gonna be much more detailed, much more specific. So sometimes that requires you like meeting with someone to allow them to show you exactly what to do with it, because you don't want to be like, grinding a tennis ball in a weird part of the body that's going to cause pain. So I would say in terms of like what I personally love is there's a set called RAD, R-A-D, and it's different size. It's like got a tennis ball size, a golf ball size, and then like a little marble size. And then those can be used for different muscles of the body. What I would say, what I really I'm going to say dislike. I'm going to use the word dislike. I'm not going to go more aggressive than that. I could, but I'm going to say dislike. I dislike the ones that are very, very specific that people don't understand how to use properly. So I'm talking about people like, oh, I've got a lacrosse ball. I'm like, what? It's so like hard and violent, and you don't know, and you're just kind of being generic about it. I feel like there's just much more of a tendency for your body just to like brace against it and be like, oh my God, what are you doing to me? And then it's not effective. Or people use those massage guns. And I know sometimes people swear by them, and everybody's nervous system reacts differently. But a lot of times when you put that gun on like your quad or IT band, all of a sudden your body's first reaction is like, holy shit, what is that? And so like that's not a great nervous system response to a therapeutic application. So things like that, like I tell people to stay away from the Theracanes, the massage guns, and the really, really hard surfaced tools, and the ones that look medieval. Have you seen the ones with spikes and shit on them? It's like, what are you doing to yourself? What is happening here? I think people, again, have that very athletic mind of like, no pain, no gain. If I can get in there and really crush it, then somehow that's going to be better for me in the long run. And I think people kind of need to step away from that and be like, no, actually, like, give yourself an opportunity to be a little more therapeutic and see how your body responds. Because if your body is just sitting there and you're like crying and saying 4-letter words, your body's not responding correctly to that application of pressure and application of myofascial release. So for me, you want something with a little bit of give. Like a tennis ball is perfect. If you don't want to go out and purchase something, you can find a tennis ball anywhere. Those are great. But also, like, I use yoga blocks. I use, you can use your hands. There's lots of different things that you can do to provide pressure in a nice, consistent, therapeutic way that's not, causing pain and dismemberment.
Well, that's funny because you actually, because I
was you have a Theragun, don't you?
Well, no, I was going to ask you about it because I know we've talked privately, or you mentioned privately your thoughts about the massage gun and everything like that. So you brought it up before I could even question you about it. So, and you were talking about, which was literally, I had a client yesterday. I'm not joking. I'm not shitting you. And she had just went and saw her physical therapist, and they had like a scraper, and she went and she ordered one, and she was like asking me about it, and I was like, no, you shouldn't do that, because you can, like, you don't know exactly what you're doing, and like you could end up hurting yourself. Which, speaking of which, how can some people, like, people can overdo it with, like, even with the foam roller and different things like that, right? Like you can do it too much where it actually becomes
like
inefficient, kind of like almost like overtraining
Yeah,
goes
yeah,
into my mind.
yeah. So I mean, I would say the first the first thing that I warn people is that it's once a day. Because some people are like, oh, once is good, 10 times is better. So then they're just sitting there grinding away at these muscles constantly throughout the day. And then there's the idea of, I say, like a 3 to 5 minute kind of time limit, because some people will be like, oh, well, if you tell me to do 3 minutes, I should be doing 15 minutes because that more is better idea. And what happens is when you are putting this like slow, consistent pressure on this area, you are bringing a lot of blood flow to the space, which is ideal. You want blood flow to help clear everything out and to bring, kind of the healing properties of the body to that space. You want your brain to be aware of that space. So blood flow is great. But the more you do it, the more it happens. So pretty soon you have this almost over inflammation response. So if you do it for way too long, you can actually feel a little bit crummier afterwards. So like some people have this with just a deep tissue massage. Like you go in for an hour, some people leave feeling great. They're like, that was the best hour of my life. But some people go in and they actually feel kind of like stiff and just not as great because it's that idea of like extra blood flow and extra inflammation. So you are going for an inflammation response, but in a very like controlled, small way in order to influence to the benefit of that area. So if you sit there and you do it 10 times a day or you do it for 12 minutes, the idea is there is a chance where you could kind of overstimulate that area and then it doesn't feel great. And that's what we desperately want to avoid, because as soon as your nervous system connects, oh, you rolling around on that blue ball or you rolling around on that foam roller equaled we didn't feel great. The next time it sees that foam roller and the next time you try to do it, it's instantly going to be like, remember, this sucked. So gross. And it's not going to have that idea of like, oh, this is really good. We love this. So that's where that nervous system component is so important. You want to do something to the therapeutic benefit of both the physical application of the muscle, but also that nervous system application. So like when you go and you're like, yay, it's time to foam roll, it's like excited because we know it's going to be good and we know we're going to feel better, as opposed to like, oh crap, we got to do this again. This is going to suck. I'm going to get bruised, like that kind of idea. So there's this idea where there's a huge influence on how your body responds, both physically and nervous system wise. So I say once a day, 3 to 5 minutes. And then again, kind of we already talked about like the level of the tool. You don't want something that just digs in there so deeply that you are causing bruising. Like the idea is not to sit there and just be speckled with bruises. That's not like a gold medal. You don't you don't get awards for bruises with myofascial release. Okay, that is not the point. And that's definitely an indication of like you've went too far and now your body is reacting to that in pretty much a negative way. Like, okay, that was a little much. We need to draw back next time so we don't actually like damage that area.
Yeah. And it's like crazy because it sounds kind of like, kind of common sense. But there was a girl who trained at the gym one of the gyms that I worked at, and she had one of those like neck things that was on TikTok that was like a neck massager thing, and it was supposed to be like 10 minutes a day or something like that, and it was feeling so good, so she was doing it for like 30 minutes, and she did it for like a week or so, and so she got to a point where she couldn't turn her neck, and she had to go see a chiropractor and massage, and she was like out, and she was trained for powerlifting, and she was literally out for like 2 to 3 weeks, and then even after that it took a while for her to be able to lift, but yeah, so it's
like the perfect example of like there's always too much of a good thing, no matter what it is. And us as humans, we're just always driving for that like perfection and that idea of like we're very impatient creatures, right? Like if 10 minutes is going to fix me, then 30 minutes is going to make me Superman. And so we just kind of push the boundaries always until we get that point where like, oh well, hindsight's 20/20. That's not doing that again. Oh, so sad for her though.
Yeah.
Darn it.
Yeah. It was crazy. I just was like, but
what have you done?
Yeah.
You did it to yourself.
Exactly. So moving along, we're almost there. We got fitness perspective next, and so we're going to be talking to, if you're a little bit more athletic inclined or more into those workouts. This is a section for you. Okay, we didn't leave you out of this conversation. So many people kind of skip recovery. So how much progress do you feel like they're leaving on the table, so to speak?
Well, I mean, besides the obvious like soreness idea of DOMS, like, because if you think about it, if you go through a really extreme leg day and the next day you're like barely making it upstairs, whether or not you want to admit it, that is influencing your workout the next day, even if it's shoulder day. Like you're still not moving, like biomechanically, you're not moving like you would. Or if you're choosing to do cardio or something as well that day, like you're not going to be running on the treadmill like you normally would. So there's this idea of like if you're excessively sore, you do have compensation patterns. And when you have compensation patterns, you're most likely to get injury elsewhere. You know, like you're moving your feet a little bit differently, your knees are a little bit differently. That's all going to track up and down. Like as a yoga therapist, we always talk about upstream and downstream. Like we, with fascia specifically, we have referral pain, which is usually where you're feeling pain is not the muscle that's causing the pain. You've got those puppet strings we talked about pulling on different areas. So like my knee
Love
might be hurting.
that
callback. It might be like your knee is where it's feeling pain. So people are always like, "What? I'm sorry. Why are we talking about glutes and outer hips and that stuff when it's my knee that's hurting?" But it's that idea of referral pain. So you can have that kind of stuff if you're so excessively sore, and leading to compensation patterns and stuff. So I mean, obviously, I think doing it to get rid of the DOMs is kind of like we talked about, like the NICE application. That's pretty easy. You can use a foam roller. It doesn't take too much education. But also in general, myofascial release, like working regularly, does help increase range of motion. So you're talking about the opportunity to get deeper into your squats, ankle mobility with that I know is crucial, lunges, things like that. You're talking about when you're doing, different works with your shoulders, the idea that your shoulder blades are staying in place as opposed to like moving around because we sit like this all day. So I think there's this idea where by keeping the fascia in its optimal health, you're really influencing everything the fascia touches, which is literally everything of the body. Like it is your bone structure, it is your ligaments, it's your tendons, it's your muscles. So I think by not addressing that, not only are you possibly losing a little bit of maybe the range of motion of the gym, but you're also possibly leading towards an injury. Like with weightlifters specifically, I'll have them do something like, let's say, a quad release, and they'll do the right and they'll do the left, and all of a sudden they're like, I cannot believe how much worse my left is than my right. And I'm like, okay, that's your body's signaling system. It's telling you that you're doing something different with this leg than this leg. And right now that might not be a problem, but in 3 weeks or a year or in 12 gym sessions, who knows? Like we don't know the clock on that, but something's going to give. And that could be that all of a sudden you lift heavy and your knee takes the force instead of your quad like it should. So there's this idea of like, you want to keep checking in, even if, like it's when you come to my yoga classes, we always do it at the end of yoga. There'll be people that are like, I had no idea that this muscle was so sore, but I'm glad I found that out because now I'm going to make sure that it doesn't influence my low back or things like that. So there's the idea of like checking in with the body just to make sure things aren't building up to this crescendo of injury, because nothing's worse than like killing it at the gym, getting, a personal best or something, and then coming back and then getting injured and, oh no, now I've got to take 2, 3, 4 weeks off, come back. Like there's just so frustrating to have that injury that maybe you didn't even realize was coming, but you might have had a little bit of a foreshadowing if you would have been doing myofascial release throughout your rehab.
Perfect. And see, you did such a great job because I had like 2 additional questions.
See,
but through
we're just
that,
like this.
you answered it because I was going to talk about mobility and flexibility, and then I was going to talk about how it can go into effect with your actual strength training.
So what you're saying is I don't actually need you here. I can just go ahead and finish the podcast by myself, and you can just
much.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just here to be the pretty face anyway. So
okay.
I'm just Okay, well, we're almost there. So we got rapid fire round. And so with this, I'm going to ask you a question and you're going to give me the first word that comes to your mind. Okay. And then maybe you can give me just a little bit, like if you want to explain just a little bit more about it or anything like that.
Yeah, we both know how good I'm at short answers.
Well, we're gonna be putting you to a test, all right?
All right, I'll try.
Okay, so
all right.
What is your favorite accessory tool for myofascial release?
Okay, be specific.
Yes. Well, we're talking about myofascial release, but okay.
Hey, words matter. Favorite is by far the recovery. They're called recovery rounds by RAD. RAD. It's a set of 2. They're turquoise.
Are you sponsored by them?
Oh no, I should be,
Maybe
right? They're amazing.
We'll clip this.
They're amazing. I love these things so much. I pimp them out to all of my students. But they're about the size of tennis balls, but they have the perfect amount of give. They're a little bit sticky, so they like stick to the wall or the floor. They don't like roll around, but they're brilliant. And they're so easy to like throw in your gym bag, or I travel with them. Oh my gosh, they're so easy. Put them in your purse, whatever. But yeah, definitely those.
Okay.
100%.
Favorite muscle to release?
Gluteus medius. It's your outer hip side edge space.
No why to that? Just
Oh, okay.
No,
Well, you said keep it short.
Okay, well,
Jeez. I swim every morning.
Okay.
So that's a very like, with your legs in that position, it's a very like kind of symmetrical movement. And so sometimes the outer hips can feel a little bit tight. But also like sit. I mean, I don't try not to sit a lot, but for most humans, they sit all day. That area gets weak. They're hip stabilizers. They're amazing.
Yeah, I was about to say, as a fellow swimmer myself,
Okay.
I totally relate.
Anytime you want to race, I'm in.
Yes,
Let's do this.
yes.
It's gonna be the next episode.
Most overlooked body part to release.
Can you be a little more specific? Overlooked?
Yeah, like what is like people or when that like people are surprised that like, oh.
Subscapularis, inside the shoulder blade. So the only way to get through it is kind of like in your armpit, which is kind of weird. But it's a rotator cuff muscle, and there's been so many times where once that's released, like the whole shoulder complex is just like, oh, good Lord, like what? So like because it's in there, and a lot of like even massage therapists kind of have a hard time getting in there because it is underneath your shoulder blade. So yeah, I would say that one.
Okay. What is one thing everyone should stop doing in regards to myofascial release?
Stop.
There's so many. You're just
Right.
like, which one do I pick?
Hold my beer. Okay. Definitely going to the excessive point of like bruising and like self-harm. Like it should feel good. It should be therapeutic. It should be like a deep tissue massage. Sometimes I like a hurt so good, but it should still be good. And I think people are trying to like dig in there like crazy, and somehow again they feel like I think the idea of breaking it up has been so like saturated into the culture that that's what they think they're doing, and it's impossible to break it up. It's just collagen is just way too strong. The fascial matrix is way too strong. We cannot break it up, but we can only influence it like in a healthy therapeutic way. So like stop trying to break yourself.
Okay, and then the last one, Pilates or yoga?
Always yoga. Always yoga. I think yoga addresses way more things in the body. It's not just the physical practice. You've got breath work, which is, your breath dictates how your body responds. It teaches you nervous system control, which is everything that's applicable off the mat. Like Pilates is amazing, but like once you get off that reformer, Pilates is done. Like you spent your hour and it's amazing and it's strengthening, and I cannot pimp it enough on that. But yoga follows you off the mat. You have techniques, including myofascial release techniques, to take with you so that you're constantly having applications throughout your day to like create that very best version of you.
Okay. So if you could give one piece of advice to our listeners that would immediately help them train smarter, what would it be in regards to myofascial release?
Come see me. Come take a class. I would say take a little bit of time and research the area that you're trying to influence, because you don't want to just kind of go willy-nilly and just hope that what you're putting pressure on is successful. There's so much information out there. Make sure it's good information. But yeah, just take a little bit of time so that you can kind of make it unique to what you're doing. Because I think some athletes are like, well, it's a waste of time. I'm like, well, yeah, you're spending 30 minutes just rolling randomly. Like you're not being, if it was more specific to you, if you were saying like, look, I really need to, I'm having problems with bicep curls, so I need to foam roll my bicep. Like that only takes 3 minutes. So a lot of the homework that I give students is 3 minutes. Anybody can do 3 minutes. Or if it's like, runners with their feet and plantar fasciitis, things like that, like it's 3 minutes. So you don't want to think of myofascial release as like this lifetime death sentence where like you're going to have to do 20 minutes every day until you die. It really is just specific to what you need. 3 minutes, you're done once a day. That's it. It makes you feel amazing. And then once that area is clear, you don't have to do it anymore. So it's not like you literally have to do your feet every single day until you die to make you have good feet. It's just to the point where the fascia is restored again. So like do a little digging, come see me in a class, ask some questions, do some research, get what you need specifically to you, and then it's 3 minutes a day, and nobody has an excuse to say they can't have 3 minutes a day to make themselves better, right?
Exactly. And if people want to learn more information about you and how can they get a hold of you? What's the best way? Your website, social media?
Yeah, we've got it all. Limitlessyogastudio.com is the website that has my direct email, so you can contact me. It gives you a little information on what yoga therapy is and how it can help. It also gives our class schedule, so you can come see me there because we do myofascial release in all the classes. And I've trained my teachers in it, so a lot of my teachers choose to do it as well. We also have our Facebook and Instagram pages, which is Limitless Yoga and Pilates Studio, so you can get us there. I like to post little tidbits on those once in a while. So a couple days ago I did, if your knees are cranky, try this quad release, things like that. So you can definitely get some tips and tricks on social media.
And any big events that you have coming up and, maybe...
Oh, okay. I see this little self-promotion here. All right, you want me to talk about your class, don't you?
No, because this probably will be out after the class. But I'm talking about more like ICT Yoga Fest.
Okay.
Your Pilates
all right.
teacher training.
Yes.
And,
Well, yeah, we got a lot of stuff going on constantly. We love community events. We love to get out there and kind of show what we are. So in July, we're going to do, we have our fun yoga and wine out at Grace Hill Vineyards, which is always a great, all levels class just to get some people that might not have done yoga before to realize that yoga is not scary. Devin is going to be teaching a bro Pilates class, so Pilates for the dudes. They always seem to for the bros. For the bros. Yeah. They always seem to have a good time. And then we have our ICT Yoga Fest Saturday, September 19th. That's going to be a whole day long of all things yoga. You can kind of buffet pick your classes. You just have a general admission ticket, and then you can do all the fun things. So it could be something like Devin teaching Pilates. I'm going to be actually doing a myofascial release course, so you can spend 45 minutes with me, and we're going to get into the specifics of different muscle groups and things. You can also go and do aerial yoga. You can do a meditation course. You can, throughout the day, you just pick and choose all the classes you want to go to. So it's a great event at the Wichita Boathouse.
Okay. Yes. And thank you for promoting my class.
Always.
Even though you hate Pilates, apparently.
Whoa. Yeah, that's the takeaway. That's the takeaway.
That is the takeaway.
Make sure to title the podcast, Kelsey Hates Pilates. Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
You're the worst.
Is there any last thing maybe we missed out on or any last final remarks about myofascial release before we close this chapter?
I was going to say, don't get me started because I'll just go on forever and ever and ever. I would say that it's one of the tools that I use with my private clients, but also with my group classes that has had some of the most amazing results in terms of getting people out of pain that they've been struggling with for a long time, keeping people injury free. We've got the Wichita Barbarians rugby team that comes in, and I've heard from a lot of them that because of the stuff that we do, it is helping them to keep injury free during their games. Same thing with other athletes that I work with. It's kind of this little game changer that isn't really necessarily addressed in a lot of group classes that you go to, but we give you these little tools and tricks that you can use on. But it's such a valuable thing to have in your back pocket so that you can address not only current soreness, but also future injuries. Maybe something you learn in class to release your quad isn't applicable right then, but as soon as you hurt your quad in the gym 3 months later, you're like, oh, I remember how to fix this. So yeah, it's all knowledge is good knowledge, right?
Exactly. And I can completely attest to that as somebody who's been going to your classes for years now, that I contribute a lot of me being able to do all the things and doing rugby at my big age and not having really any serious injuries and being able to do all the different things I do is because
Superman.
I put an emphasis on recovery, and a big part of it was through my working with you and everything. And so I think that's why when I was coming back to doing this podcast, I was like, I definitely want you to be my first guest, because I think that this is something that's very important that a lot of people, including myself, overlooked. And so I wanted to make sure and shed light of the amazing stuff that you do. Thank you for keeping me and the Wichita rugby team, not even just the men's team. Now it's the women's team too. Pretty soon you'll probably be working with the high schoolers, just doing it all. But appreciate you very much. And so thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Deep Dive with D.Rob Fitness. So make sure, if you're not already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, leave some questions down in the comments below. And if you like this episode, make sure and let me know, because maybe we'll have her on for a full episode, even though I feel like this might have the lead up a full episode. But when you're having a great conversation and you're spreading knowledge, age.
Exactly.
Time flies when you're having a good time. And I hope that you guys had as much fun and amazing time as we did. Namaste.
Namaste.